Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Tuesday night. It's Tuesday Terror. With to my left is none other than the veritable Sniveler himself, Kevin the Haunted Dog. Listen to him.
Yeah, wait, did you say Sniveler?
Veritable Sniveler.
Yeah, whatever.
To my right, what looks like a vehicle is another veritable Sniveler.
Okay.
The Abnormals. That's what we need to call the team here, the Abnormals. So welcome to the Abnormals in Abnormal, Alabama, myhaunteddogs.com. And we are going to have a very interesting show tonight. I'm glad that you joined us. Please take this live stream and share it with your friends, your neighbors, your enemies, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, your children, if they're over the age of 18. Announcement to make as far as our Facebook page. I changed it from public to private simply because someone came in a few days ago and was reporting us for our post, and they were not even a member of Abnormal Alabama. So it's like, I guess it's time to make this private. They were trolling us. So I thought I'm going to end the trolling right there. So if you're not a member of Abnormal Alabama, you're not going to be able to see the content of what's on our Facebook page. So I would recommend that if anybody wants to join, we do kind of look at you and examine you a little bit. We'll go and see if you're worthy of being abnormal like us. And the warning is we are abnormal. So if you think you're normal, you're in the wrong place. And you can tell by looking at the ones right and left of me that we are extremely abnormal. I'm the most normal.
that meat in the middle of the abnormal sandwich there.
There we go.
The cream in this Oreo.
That's it.
Cream in this Oreo.
So anyway, I wanted to get that announcement out. We had an issue with somebody coming into our Facebook group that was not even a member of our group. And I was notified by Facebook that somebody that was not from our group. So I contacted the people and I said, well, thanks for your input, but no thanks. And because of you, we're going to private. So, yeah, I guess you reach a certain point and the trolls start coming out.
Well, see, now normally you do the trolling, so it's like the troll got trolled.
Who the heck do I troll? I never even, I never even go to anybody's Facebook page. I mean, why would I go to Kevin Kane's Facebook page? What the hell is he posting that I want to see?
Oh, now they can go out there and look at mine, see your likes and comments.
Oh, jeez.
You and your Irish Spring soap.
Well, so the first question I've got is, after last week's show, did anybody create a tulpa? Now, I know that she says she did by the name of Jack. And is that Jack and the Beanstalk?
No, you know Jack's my favorite name.
And so Kevin has I think he's a tulpamancer. I think he's got more than one tulpa.
I didn't do nothing.
So
I just me, myself, and I.
A quick recap, Kevin. Tell us what we talked about last week. Remind us.
Oh gosh, do I have to remember all it?
You didn't know there was going to be
talked about. No, Professor, I didn't know there was going to be a quiz. No, we talked about creating sort of our own spirit, or even our own kind of doppelganger. When we concentrate hard enough, we can create another being or object even, which is called a tulpa. And if not handled correctly, it can get out of control, even cause you some harm.
And now we know the rest of the story. So it's not the difference between a tulpa and what we're talking about tonight. And we're talking about switching altars, and that is interesting. But there's a difference, because when you create a tulpa, you're creating a separate entity that's distinct from you. Okay. But when we're talking about switching altars, we're talking about it's kind of the same, but it's not near the same. And in fact, think about, Kevin's the one that brought this up earlier, the Hulk. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And you know that man, he's got an alter. His alter ego is the Hulk. There you go. Look at that.
Spider-Man.
And that's the original right there. What's that guy's name? Bixby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill
So-
Bixby.
Yes. So that is indeed what you got. That is an alter, his alter ego. You could think about the Nutty Professor. The Nutty
Yeah.
Professor would drink a chemical concoction and he would turn into his alter ego. Now he kind of did both of those kind of did a purposeful switching. On the Hulk, I don't think the Hulk really did it purposefully. I think he'd get angry or whatever, and it just took over. But the Nutty Professor, he would drink his concoction, and then he would turn into Mr. Suave and Debonair Playboy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course the old story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yes, Jekyll and Hyde.
So Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, did Dr. Jekyll have to force his change? Was it with intent or was it uncontrollable?
Now, he invented a chemical that's supposed to, I guess what he was attempting to do was create a way to get rid of our evil side, or at least gain control over it. Unfortunately, when he swallows the chemical he made, it brings out his alter ego, and it takes control instead of him being in control. And it even alters his appearance. Of course, in the movie version, like you see here, he's more primitive looking, ape-like, that was kind of symbolic. But in the book, he was just really rough looking, I think, in the old H.G. Wells story. Or is it Robert Louis? I think it's Robert Louis Stevenson wrote Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the Stevenson story. So yeah, he drank a chemical and kind of forced it to happen. It wasn't something, but then I think he took so much of it by the end, if I remember correctly, it would take control without him even drinking the chemical. So he had to really fight off Mr. Hyde. I know in the movie version, Hyde just gains control of him, kills the people he loved or cared about.
So
destroys his life.
Telling that story, that's I guess Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was kind of the foundation for the Nutty Professor movies. The first one, I guess, was Jerry Lewis. Was that the first one?
I believe, Jerry Lewis.
So that was very similar. So anyway, but when I was a kid, and Kevin's got this story, there was a true case. Somebody had what we used to call multiple personalities. But I want to share with you a deeper explanation in good terminology here of what they now call switching. Switching refers to one alter, which we're talking about alter egos, taking control of the body at the expense of another alter, being given control by another alter, or gaining prominence over another alter. Again, when we're using the term alter, we're talking about alter egos. Switches can be consensual, forced, or triggered. Like I would say the case of the Hulk. His was based on triggered. If two alters choose to switch with one another, they usually have some degree of conscientiousness with each other and could both choose to remain at front or actively aware of the outside world after the switch. That's why they call it switching. However, even with consensual switches, the alter who takes a step back, so to speak, may then retreat inside for whatever reason. A subtype of consensual switches are planned switches that were agreed upon ahead of time. For example, the host may ask a more academic alter to help them to take a standardized test on a certain date. On the other hand, a switch that is forced is not wanted by one of these altars involved. It may be that the altar that was at front has unexpectedly retreated, requiring another altar to quickly take control of the body in order to prevent injury, embarrassment, or other such problems. Or that the altar who is switching out is pushing past a weaker altar against their wishes. Finally, triggered switches are not desired by any of the altars involved and occur when stimuli has been registered that forces out an altar who can better handle a situation. For example, if an altar was created to handle abuse from a specific perpetrator and the system then runs into that perpetrator at the store, that altar is likely to be shoved to the front so that no other altars can be hurt. One altar ego protecting the other altars. It should be kept in mind that some altars or some systems use the term trigger to refer to both positive and negative stimuli that can catch an altar's attention. For example, ducks at the pond could be a trigger for a 7-year-old altar to push their way to the front, or someone calling who is a special friend for one altar in particular might trigger that altar to switch out. However, as some systems do not use the term trigger to refer to negative stimuli that causes a dissociative or post-traumatic reaction, care should be taken in using the term positively. Switches can be slow, quick, or uncontrollably rapid. Slow switches are usually consensual switches in which two or more altars are co-conscious to varying degrees and slowly blending and retreating to allow one altar to gain prominence. Slow switches can also indicate that the system is heavily disassociated and depersonalized, and that altars are struggling to connect with the mind and body. In contrast, quick switches can be consensual, planned, forced, or triggered. Triggered switches are especially likely to be quick, but too many triggers or too much overall stress can also lead to rapid cycling. Rapid cycling, sometimes called Rolodexing or carousel switching, is when multiple altars are shoved to front in quick succession. This can involve several altars fronting over the course of an hour or even within a few minutes. It can be highly disorienting for those involved and can interfere with memory formation, concentration, and remaining covert and unobvious. Some indications that a switch may be about to occur include the following: feeling spacey, depersonalized or derealized, blurred vision, feeling distanced or slowed down, feeling an altar's presence, or feeling like time is beginning to jump, indicating minor episodes of time loss. External signs that a switch may have just occurred include the following: heavy blinking as if the individual is just waking up, mild muscle spasms or jerks, disorientation or visible confusion, checking the clock or one's watch, seeming not to remember anything that just happened, complaining of a mild or moderate headache, adjusting clothing or posture, clearing one's throat before speaking so that the tone or pitch changes, or a change in vocabulary, syntax, preference, opinion, temperament, skills, or general personality. A full switch is rarely necessary. Instead of an altar switching to front, they can exert passive influence on the altar currently at front. Passive influence can be described as intrusions from altars that are not currently prominent in the mind or using the body. This may manifest as ego alien thoughts, feelings, emotions, opinions, preferences, urges, or actions. These intrusions may vary in strength and influence and may result in the fronting altar taking actions or voicing opinions that they can't explain or account for. These intrusions may also cause the fronting altar to gain skills and abilities that they do not usually have, such as public speaking, despite normally suffering from social phobia, or losing skills and abilities that they would expect to always be there, such as reading or recognizing loved ones. Memories that are transmitted through passive influence may not remain once the influence is over, leaving the fronting altar unable to recall what the memory contained. On the other hand, passive influence may also lead to certain memories, emotions, sensations, or views becoming inaccessible to the fronting alter until the influence ends. Passive influence is more common than switching, and it is far more covert and hard to notice. Even switching is rarely as blatant or extreme as the media commonly portrays. It is rarely accompanied by an alter changing what clothing the system is wearing, announcing themselves in public or to anyone but close friends who have expressed previous interest in knowing which alter is out, or extreme whiplashes in behavior or personality. Most systems will go to great lengths to hide their condition, denying and downplaying symptoms as much as possible in common. Very fascinating stuff when you get down to it. It goes, it's now really become, I think, what we're going to learn here is Kevin shares some stories with us. Got to become kind of a thing for a younger generation now, hadn't it, Kevin?
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, you looked up, you looked switching. I never heard of the term switching and alters. I heard of multiple personalities, and it was called a disorder. And some of the stuff I've been running across is like, it's not a disorder, it's what I want.
Well, pop artists have been using alter egos. I mean, look at David Bowie. He had several alter egos, but the most famous was Ziggy Stardust, a humanoid alien, which allowed Bowie to distance himself from the boy from Beckham. In other words, from his own self, and become fearless on stage. So, and then a few years back, American singer and songwriter Beyonce Knowles created an alter ego, which she named Sasha Fierce, and she described Sasha as being fun, sensual, glamorous, and aggressive. Beyonce let Sasha out when she was on stage. This alter ego protected Beyonce's self-identity as someone who was reserved and very ladylike. So it's like they get a different persona on stage to be powerful, bigger, larger than life. But when they get off stage, they're totally different from the persona they put on.
And that is not all that unusual for entertainers.
No, even writers use pen names sometimes because they write in different styles.
How many pen names have you used?
None. I want my name out there. I want my name.
Even Stephen King used a pen name for a while.
Here and there. Well, yeah, I know. Gosh, I can't remember the name of it offhand, but
maybe it's
I want people to know I wrote the book.
Why? See, you're letting your ego get in the way of your talent.
That's not ego. That's so people know, hey, I know Kevin. I'm going to buy his book.
Yeah, then they'll say, I certainly don't want his book.
I just never saw the need for a pen name myself. But
what about, okay, in your case, it wouldn't be a pen name. It'd be a pencil name.
A pencil name? What was that supposed to mean? Huh?
You could erase it real easy.
I'd just be a delete button then, a delete button name.
Okay, so we
use one.
I do.
You do?
I'm more popular than you even recognize because you don't know.
Are you one of these artists that have faked their own death now? Oh, he's Elvis. Oh, no.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to get a peanut butter and banana sandwich here.
Don't forget the gravy.
Ain't nothing but a hound dog.
Don't have the gravy on there.
All right. This is what Elvis looked like when he shaved.
Yeah.
Here we go. The color right here.
Oh.
All right. So that's interesting. So Beyonce had Sasha.
Yeah.
And of course, Alice Cooper had his on stage persona as well. His alter ego.
Even whatchamacallit, Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, Ozzy. Yeah.
He got up there acting like, something from the dark side, but he would tell you, he didn't really involve himself in that outside of the stage.
He was hungry for a bat.
but he was too drugged up off the stage, I guess.
Earlier in my life, we referred to this as multiple personality disorder and that sort of thing. And the first movie I remember that addressed this was Sybil, and I believe you found the story about the original Sybil that it was based on.
Yeah, let me pull up the article I had. The true stories behind the Split. The movie Split came out a few years back that was inspired by movies like Sybil because the guy had multiple personalities. And there's Sybil there. But the lady in real life, her name was not Sybil. Her real life name, I can get it up here, is Shirley Mason. She had, they believe, a total number of 16 personalities. That's a lot of people inside of one head. Shirley Mason was born on January 25th, 1923 in Dodge, Minnesota, to a sadistic mother. Her childhood difficulties were unimaginable. Shirley's mother used to give her enemas to fill her stomach with cold water. When she grew up, she would find herself in hotels in different cities and had no idea how she'd get there. Some of her most horrifying experiences was finding herself in front of broken, expensive products in shops without any recollections of how she got there. In 1954, Shirley sought help for her mental problems. She had a lifelong relationship with Dr. Cornelia Wilbur in Omaha. During the therapies, the personalities started appearing, totaling 16 distinct personalities altogether. Later on, Shirley admitted that some of these personalities were fake. In the course of her life, Shirley became addicted to barbiturates and heavily depended on Dr. Cornelia, who paid her bills and gave her money. One of the most famous films about DID on this list, which is that it's the abbreviation for that personality disorder, is Sybil, which was based on the real-life experiences of Shirley Mason. Award-winning actress Sally Fields played Sybil in a TV miniseries adapted from a book with the same name. At the end of the series, Sybil lived happily ever after. But unfortunately, in real life, the struggle of Shirley Mason only ended on February 26, 1998, when she succumbed to breast cancer. So she never really, I don't think, was able to break herself away from these personalities.
Wow.
And that gets into, I was reading that another of these articles talks about some people create personas like that to distance themselves, to kind of get out of their own world.
Well, that kind of goes in hand with some of what I just shared about switching and whatnot, because you if you're intimidated in a certain situation, you would create an alter ego that would not be intimidated by it, and then you would switch accordingly.
And there have been other movies out there about that. The Split movie, that one, I think, have you seen the movie Split yet?
No.
I've seen it. I liked it. It was just a very interesting, suspenseful film, but it's instead of an innocent person, this is a bad guy. Well, I mean, he didn't start out bad. Start out with a guy who kidnaps these 3 young girls and using chloroform and takes them down to a underground lair somewhere where he keeps them locked in. And while they're down there, there's when they come awake and they're down there with him, they come surprised when he comes in the room totally. And with one personality, he's a female with a British accent. And another personality, he's a little boy that talks like this. And every time he comes in, just about he's got a different personality. So it turns out the real person, the real guy, where it started from, was not a bad guy at all. In fact, he had no idea he'd had so many personalities that his own personality had been in the dark for almost 2 or 3 years. All these other personalities have completely taken over, fighting with each other. And it becomes more of comic book type story with the good versus bad and so forth. And a lot of people got upset about it because they said it makes it look more. It takes it out of the real perspective of what personality disorder is. It's
Well,
not
it
this.
changes. Yeah, it kind of falls in the world of paranormal.
Yeah, it does.
And you go back to some of the early original stories, like we talked about, and we're talking about Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, the Hulk, and the Nutty Professor. It's all very much sci-fi, scary, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And one thing I forgot to mention on that character in Split, it does seem like he came from a broken home that caused him to be mentally disturbed. And it seems like in real life, like with that Shirley Mason story, a lot of people with personality disorder come from a bad childhood of abuse or a broken home with stress they couldn't handle. And they would often sink into their own minds and create things and then start believing it was real. That was where those personalities would come from.
Right.
And it's scary when that personality or personalities is able to at times take over and you don't even know. It's like you lost time. You might think you've passed out, but in reality, your other personality's taking over and it's walking around in your body having a whole other life.
I think time slipped because she was in the light a while ago, and that's totally dark over there. What happened?
Oh, yeah.
I'm in my undisclosed location.
She's slowly fading to that black box she loves so
She's
much.
She's in the bunker. She's in the bunker. Yeah, it's fascinating stuff, and I didn't realize it was such a thing right now with a lot of people. If you go to YouTube, you'll find people that are making these videos that are catching themselves switch on camera. If you know what I'm talking about. Have you seen any of that?
I
And I've
haven't
watched.
seen it. No.
Huh?
I have not seen it. No.
Yeah, I can pull up a video here somewhere. Hold on a second. Okay. Here we go. Let me see about this.
I'm digging where.
Let's see this girl here,
I'm digging my highlight.
and let's see if we can watch someone. We've been doing this for about 30 minutes. I'm Kelsey. There is Dr. the Saint Kevin King, my only
Doctor.
and there is El Doctor, the Catherine, the Saintess. And we are here tonight talking about not altered states, but alter egos and switching. And I'm going to share a video that somebody put out that they might be a little bit interesting here.
And
Let's
I
see,
just
we'll make
remember,
sure share the audio. Okay, here
I
we go.
remember another story that I can share afterwards.
Okay, are we
I
ready?
just remembered. Yep.
Can I do this now, Kevin? Do I have your permission?
Of course. Oh, shit. Go ahead.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Dissociative. We are a channel that is dedicated to educating people about dissociative identity disorder and diminishing stigma that surrounds it. Today I wanted to talk to you about positive triggers. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what positive triggers are, why you should never positively trigger someone, and also maybe show you what it looks like. Okay, so what is a trigger? If you don't know what a trigger is, first and foremost, I would recommend you go and have a look at our video that we did on PTSD, the science of PTSD and dissociation, which is very educational, very...
Okay, so I think we agree that we know now what a trigger is. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I do not.
Hello? Huh?
I do not have any questions.
Okay.
a scientific-based video, and right at the beginning it tells you all about what triggers are. A trigger is something that will cause a flashback to happen. A negative trigger is something that will usually encourage a flashback or cause a flashback and be very, very distressing, very upsetting, very unpleasant for the individual who's been triggered. There's no such thing as a silly trigger. Triggers can be anything. It's whatever your brain has associated with a traumatic experience. So, okay, what's a positive trigger? A positive trigger, at least when it comes to DID, dissociative identity disorder, is something that can encourage an alter to front. So it triggers them out, but not for a negative reason. Some examples of positive triggers could be things like, if you're familiar with our channel, Kyle has food as a positive trigger. If I'm eating or we're around food, it's very, very likely that Kyle will come out. Positive triggers don't always work. It's not a full safe way to encourage an alter to front, and it is just an encouragement usually. Sometimes it can be a...
So she's giving some same background we did, and I'm hoping she gets into the forced personality switch caught on camera, which I hope that's not clickbait.
Trigger switch, so it's really, really quick, but it really depends on the system, the situation, and the particular trigger. So other common positive triggers are things like songs, or maybe, for example, if you have littles, which are young alters, child alters, often when a system goes past like a very, very cute stuffed toy or something that's very...
Now, yeah, Catherine was saying something the other day about littles. Was that what you called it?
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with this.
Okay.
But I mean, well, in a way it does.
I'm sorry.
Well, in a way it does.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. It doesn't connect here, but okay, let's finish.
A positive trigger encourages a child alter to front for a positive reason, because they really, really like it. It's caught their eye, triggered, flipped a switch in that part of the brain, which encourages this personality, this part of the consciousness to come to front, which means they are controlling the body. Now, first off, I bet a few people are thinking, oh, great, so if I'm with the system and I want to talk to my favourite person, for example, or I don't feel like talking to the person who's fronting right now, and I want to talk to someone else, I can just positively trigger them out. No, please do not do this. Even though they're called positive triggers, it is horrible to be positively triggered because you have no control over the situation. If somebody deliberately positively triggers an alter out, huge betrayal of trust.
Oh, wow. So she's advising against purposely triggering? Is that what I'm getting? Y'all feel free to jump in. Yeah.
I had my mute button on, so
Oh,
I'm trying to block
come
out. Well, I'm trying to block out some of the echo. I don't know if it's coming through our speakers, but I'm hearing echo on the video.
Yeah, well, she's got a British accent, and you're an Alabama redneck. I mean,
I'm not talking about her accent. I know she had an accent, but there's an echo. It's like the video's vibrating or something.
I don't hear that on my end, but it's possible. Yes. Okay. Well, anyway, bottom line is that she's. Let's go ahead and pay attention here. But positive triggering could turn out to be a negative result.
It's very, very unpleasant. You're putting yourself, your vulnerability in the hands of this person who knows about your positive or negative triggers. Not only is it extremely hurtful if somebody is showing you that they don't respect or admire you as much as someone else in your system, it's a whole other thing to be forced to enter a different state of being. That person is essentially robbing you of your memory, robbing you of your ability to control your body, and robbing you of knowing what's happening, because when a switch happens, it's almost always complete amnesia. So whatever another alter has done while they're fronting, the other alters won't remember unless they're being...
So in these cases of these alter egos, these multiple personalities, do they remember the stories you've looked up, Kevin, you're going to share with us, but do they remember what their alter egos have done?
The stories I've read on them, they don't. That's like I was talking about with the Shirley Mason. She would wake up. Well, at one point, she woke up in a store amongst a bunch of broken items and had no idea how she'd gotten there, how much time had passed.
Wow.
So they're often, a lot of times they don't. Yeah, one personality takes over, it's not the other one's asleep.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like sleepwalking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay, I'm just curious.
Co-conscious, or there is very good communication. So if somebody purposefully triggers you, it feels violating. It feels very, very violating. So please do not use positive triggers to try and force somebody to front. No matter how good your intentions are, be aware of positive triggers, be careful, and never ever do it on purpose, okay? The reason I'm showing you these things and talking to you about these things, and the reason that we're so vulnerable and open and honest on this channel about what DIB is like for us and for a lot of other people, is because we want to erase the stigma that surrounds it. Show that we're not superheroes, we're not monsters, we're not dangerous, we're just people whose brains have developed to handle a very, very traumatic early experience, repeated traumatic early experiences in a way that will keep us safe and alive and healthy. But that also means that there are a lot of things that make normal life what would be normal and easy and something you wouldn't think about for you, especially if you're not neurodivergent, can be very frightening and dangerous for us. So things like going shopping on your own or getting on a bus on your own. What if you walk past a toy store? Boom, could switch out to a little positive trigger. You want to know where you are, where you've been, a little may buy things with your money, things like that. And obviously this can happen with any alter at any time. It can be quite frightening, and it's not always something that's going to be in your control. So for example, if we know where a toy store is, or I've got a glimpse of a toy store, I will be very careful to avoid looking at it as much as possible if I can help it, unless I'm with someone I know I trust, or I know that I can stay co-conscious with that little, or there's a protector very, very close. Sometimes positive triggers can be helpful in dire situations. For example, if you really, really need a protector to front and you just can't get hold of them, or they're really far back in the headspace and you just can't reach them, then sometimes listening to a certain song as a positive trigger for them, maybe their favorite song, can help bring them closer to the front. So if you need help with something, or you need to ask them something, that can be very useful. But again, this doesn't always work.
So everything I'm hearing, these alters, I guess that's what they call them, and the switching is really done out of self-preservation.
Yeah.
So you're getting, it's just like when we do weddings, I'll remind a bride that they may, if there's any songs they don't want to hear during the course of their reception or whatever, to let us know, because a song can be a trigger to some emotional experience, previous relationship. And so these people, of everything that I'm hearing about this, have created an alter ego to effectively deal. So if they hear something that's a trigger, they switch their alter ego and they become somebody that can deal with that trigger. I'm just putting it in my words to make sure I understand it, if you know what I'm saying.
So on our Spotify, we have playlists for each of our alters. These are just playlists that we like to listen to when we're out. So if you're out, I'm like, oh, I want to listen to my music now. Boom, there's my playlist with all my stuff on it. And we've got those for lots of people. They're public. You can listen to them if you want to. I'll leave the links to my Spotify down below where you can see all of our playlists. Some specific songs will be positive triggers. So for example, if I listen to a song right now, and I probably won't be able to play it or I'll get demonetized. Demonetized videos get promoted and suggested less often than ones that aren't monetized, and we're doing this to spread awareness, so I like to avoid being demonetized if I can. Also, it helps us pay our rent, so that's great too. I'll see what I can do. I have spoken to a few of us about this. Everybody knows that this is going to happen today, and the people who are around near the front, I can feel Sally, Kyle, Nadia, Sally, Niall, and Claudia.
Okay, so she's got names for her alter egos. Is that what I'm hearing? Somebody
Yeah, I
help
think
me.
that is what you're hearing there.
Yeah. I'm trying to follow this. Really, it's just, I mean, there's a lot
Yeah.
to this. And now
Yeah.
she's going now into this forced personality switch, this switch to an alter ego. And now what I'm hearing her express is she's feeling, and she's got names for each one of these alter egos.
Yes.
And that is interesting. Let's follow along.
What? Sally, Niall, and Claudia? No. Sally, Kyle, and Nadia, good lord. They did ask on Instagram if anyone had any preferences for who they would like to see experiencing a positive trigger and being brought to front. I don't know if this is going to work. It doesn't always work, but like I said, I'm going to go for the people who said that it's okay, who've agreed that this is alright, who aren't going to be shocked by it. We're in our home, we're in a safe space. Jake, who is a fragment, has very specific songs that are really, really strong positive triggers, way stronger than any songs for anyone else. Other than for Littles, the strongest positive trigger in our system belongs to Jake. And a lot of people actually wanted to see Jake or Kyle. The other one was Omega. A lot of people wanted to see Omega. I'm not going to try and positive trigger her to the front. She's just stressed all the time. She's very distressed. She's more comfortable in the inner world, so I'm not going to do that to her. I haven't even asked her. I don't want to force her out on camera, especially not after what happened last time she was on camera. So as you can see, these are our Spotify playlists. Who's closest right now? Who's closest? I've already got a headache, so I know people are really close. Kyle is definitely the closest, but he's not super fond of this very heavy, very feminine eye makeup with like glitter and stuff. But I'm sure he'll get over it. He did agree to do this. Okay, so let's go for Kyle, shall we? One specific positive trigger for Kyle is the song Pompeii by Bastille. Most songs by Bastille actually are positive triggers for him, so I'm going to search specifically for that song, Pompeii. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to listen to it and try and relax, see if he fronts. If he doesn't front, sorry, I'll try somebody else if he doesn't front. Right, that was quick. 35 seconds, that's it. 35 seconds. I don't think you can see that, can you? Oi, camera. Come on, mate. Come on. What? Oh, well. Right, then you just have to take my word for it. 35 seconds. Hiya, my name is Kyle. I'm the primary protector of the dissociative system. That's what a positive trigger looks like. A lot of people who've seen our channel, I've seen a lot of comments from people saying...
Okay, question, Kevin, Catherine. Do you see a difference in her?
I mean, not yet, unless I'm missing something, or because of the echo that I'm hearing. Catherine's gone. I don't know where she went. I guess she went to change personalities.
Oh, okay.
She vanished.
Okay.
Blimey, I just completely lost my train of thought. I was still a bit dissociated. So after you front, if you've been, if you switch, a lot of the time it kind of takes your brain like a minute to catch up. Like, I've got a really bad headache right now. I can feel it coming on, and it started off quite strong as it is anyway. It feels very much like your head's being kind of stuffed full of cotton wool. It's not nice at all. So it's really fucking hot in here. You turned the temperature up. But no, we were talking about positive triggers, weren't we? Positive triggers. What was I going to say? I was going to say something about people commenting. What was it? Fucking hell.
Okay, so I detected two things, and I don't know what's going on with your echoing there, but she's less focused now than she was before she played that song.
Yeah, I noticed she keeps pausing.
And her voice got a little bit deeper than it was before. It's less feminine than it was before. And yeah, she just seems less sure of herself and what she's talking about. She seems kind of lost. I don't know if anybody else caught that or not, but anyway.
Oh, I'm sorry, I've completely lost my train of thought. Fucking irritating. Comments, YouTube comments. What was I saying? YouTube comments. Come on, Brain. Sorry, I can't fucking remember. Anyway, yeah, the only reason that we were able to do this, we all agreed beforehand, like, Chloe had my permission to do this. I was like, yeah, obviously, I'll come say hi to my babes, and, you know, like, give you a chat and stuff like that. I was not co-con, but I was closest to the front. Like, I've been around the front all day because I knew that Chloe was going to film today, and I do like being close to the front when she does that, just in case something happens, so I can keep an eye on her from like the background. So yeah, no, a lot of the triggers for us are songs and like particular items. Like a lot of people, a lot of alters will have particular items that are like their things. Like for some people, like for me, it's my hat. This ain't my hat. This is Chloe's hat. I mean, technically, it's my hat as well. It was sent to us by Nan from the Pinata system.
Yeah, it's kind of.
She's just
hold on.
almost rattling on. So it's a little different.
It's all right, Captain. You're got an echo. You're got an echo there.
See, I told you I heard echo. Hello.
It's her alter ego. She's switching. And now I'm trying to unmute it and I can't. Okay. There we go. No. There we go. No. I don't know what's going on there. Wasn't there before. Now you came back. Hello. So we just watched her. A song was the trigger. And she is at least acting like something changed. Her demeanor. I noticed her voice went down an octave or two. And she became visibly what looked to be disoriented. So it's hard to say, but I know there's a lot of videos out there like this. This girl is very articulate. She takes her time. She really goes through it. And she is now, according to what she's demonstrating here, she's claiming that she has an alter ego that is male, Kyle. And that she brought Kyle to the front, they call fronting, because of a song that works as a trigger for her to do so. I don't think she gave a lot of history on why that song, whatever, but I did see a difference in her. Is it an act? I don't know. Is it real? I don't know. I know that there is a diagnosis for multiple personalities and whatnot. These people seem to be, they're using it as a tool. Well, let's go on and just see what else she has to say, I guess.
Specifically for me and Chloe and for everyone else, but with me and Chloe in mind. But to be honest, Chloe's she's claimed this is her hat. Like, not in a cruel way, she's like, it's her favourite hat. But like my hat, which if you've seen me before on the channel, I've got a Media Others video and everything like that. If you want to know more about me, like who I am, and you know why there's a guy living in Chloe's body, if you want, I have a particular hat, which is a very strong trigger for me. That hat is around, or you know, like is in eyesight more than like a few seconds. It's a very strong, positive trigger for me, because it's almost like being pulled forward, like coming up out of water or something like that. It's like, or having a mist clear, like if you were in a dream and you were just waking up. That's kind of how it feels to be pulled forward to the front. Sometimes it's like we describe being pushed to front and being pushed out front as being literally like pushed or kicked, like pushed back into the inner world. Literally feels like being thrown backwards. Like you get a sense of like dizziness. Chloe always says she feels like travel sick. I don't feel travel sick, but I do feel sick, like a little bit nauseous, very big headache. Like it's not nice. Like switching ain't fun. That's another reason why you should never positively trigger someone. A, that is not something you should be doing anyway. That is someone's body that you're working with. It's kind of like if somebody you knew had a bad leg or like a weak knee or something was standing nearby you and you wanted to look over their head but they were too tall to like see something, instead of like asking or saying, hey, are you going to bend down anytime soon, or like, could you bend down so I can see, or can I walk past you? It's like saying, oh well, I know how I can get them to do that, kicking them in the back of the knee that they know is weak, and like I don't know, watching them fall to the floor and then get back up again. Like you can do that. Praying on, I mean, it's not a weakness. Like it's a mechanism in our brain that works to keep us safe. But if you're preying on something,
See, I would have to go back and compare everything. Some things I'm detecting are definitely different than what she was before. Do you think she's talking more rapid now and seemingly has a different personality than what she did at the beginning? You're muted. You're muted, Kevin.
Okay, there. Now.
Your kick your right personality in. Switch.
Damn it. It seemed like she was, just kept going, rambling almost there for a while there. Just one long string of thought, coming out of her mouth. Whereas, but for a little while there, kind of in between, she started the blanking and I totally lost my train of thought and this and that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of what I call when the first part, when it was quote unquote her, the real her, not wasn't one of her alters. She seemed very connected, very articulate.
Yeah, in the beginning.
Yeah, and then
I don't think she was rambling like that in the beginning.
No,
like after the.
and I don't think her eyes were shifting like this either, were they?
I have to go back and look. I don't think she seemed to have eye camera contact like this most of the time, and
yeah, now she's kind of rambling.
Now the eyes are.
Mm-hmm. All right, well let's continue on here and see where else she leads us. By the way, this girl, hold on a second. I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due. This is under the YouTube account Disassocia DID. Disassocia DID. So I give credit where credit is due here, and we're just going through this. What she has claiming that she has forced a switch by using a trigger of a song, and this now we're watching is her alter ego Kyle.
That is going to affect someone without their permission. It's like it's a complete change in the brain, like in your consciousness. It'd be like it's an alteration of the mind. It's like giving someone a drug, like drugging someone, or slipping someone alcohol, or slipping something in someone's drink. Like you don't alter someone's state of mind without their permission. That is their body, that is their right. So don't go around with that. And I know a lot of people, especially like partners of people who have DID and stuff like that, do it a lot, and it is abusive. Like that's not right. Don't do that, especially if they said like I don't want you to do that. Like you might think, for example, if you trigger a little out, you might think, oh yeah, but when she's out, she's so happy and fun, so it's all right. But no, the person that you was there before you triggered out, the person ain't gonna be happy. Like you just don't do it. All right, it's subject close to my heart, I guess. So please don't positively trigger people on purpose. If you have agreement from the system and really need a protector to front, like you're in danger or you need an adult or something like that to be fronting so you can sign something important with the person.
So girl, are you still Kyle?
You can try and use positive triggers to encourage that person
I'm
to
totally,
something like that.
You lost me.
Only with permission. And
I think there's more than just Kyle.
I think Chloe, there was a Chloe there too. She don't live.
Anyone you meet, colleague, whatever, who has DID, like, is there anything that is difficult for you that you would like me to avoid? Is there
It's almost like she took a hit of speed.
that you would like me to know about so that
She
I
drank
can
a
make
Red
sure
Bull.
not to trigger you in the future by accident, because I want you to feel comfortable, I want you to feel safe, and I never want to force you to either have a flashback or to accidentally trigger out somebody who doesn't want to be fronting. Is there anything I can do to help you? Is there anything you want to share with me? Because again, that is not information that you're entitled to, but a lot of systems will probably appreciate you asking. So maybe think about that. Just be aware that it's really frightening to not have control over yourself.
And I
To lose
don't
memories
think
and
she
stuff
was
like that
cursing in her
is
other
fucking scary. To
persona.
come back and be in a different place, like for example, if you've been blackout drunk or something like that, and you like wake up somewhere else, or you've got memories missing, and all of a sudden you're somewhere else, it's like that all the time. And it's really fucking frightening sometimes, especially if you don't know what's happened. You don't know.
I'm
what's
not trying to, I'm
happened.
really
You
not
don't
trying to
know
make
what's
light
safe.
of what
You
she's
might not
trying to
know where you
express,
are,
but
you know,
there
you
is
don't have
kind
people's
of,
opinions of you.
I can't help but chuckle a little bit.
Yeah. Like Chloe always says, there's positive outcomes for people with DID.
So part of that was
So
Chloe,
successfully
right?
and so happily with dissociative identity disorder if you get the treatment you need and if you work
You're
on
lost.
healing. It's so worth it. But DID is a horrible disorder. It stems from childhood trauma. It is intensely traumatic for as long as you have it, pretty much. It's frightening.
Okay, I'm stopping it here
Yeah.
now. I think, I kind of wanted to experience that in the eyes of some, if you will, a practitioner of such. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm kind of feeling, is that she's really into it. So,
I noticed Carl commented, he said, just tuned in. Is there a challenge with the audio? So I think he heard that echo too.
well, of course, I'm the one playing the video, so I didn't hear. But there was a distinct, and even you with your echo was able to distinctly pick up a difference in the personality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it rambled on when she got to that point, turned to Kyle, and then I don't know if Chloe stepped in there somewhere, but that kind of gives you an overview from what I'm calling a practitioner, somebody that really utilizes these alters. They do this switching. She knows what her triggers are. She's got a name for her alter egos, which is fascinating in itself. And she can identify as like, as she puts out feelers, like, oh yes, I feel Kyle, and I feel Chloe, and I feel Susie, and I feel, wait a minute, is that Kevin? No, Kevin's his own being. Okay. So, so we've been going for about an hour here. This is Abnormal Alabama. My name is Dr. Kelsey, and right over to over there. There is Kevin, the Haunted Doll Kane, the author of many, some say, fine books, audio, Kindle, as well as the printed version. And you can find his books at myhaunteddolls.com. Of course, they're sold in many fine bookstores across the nation, as well as online at amazon.com. And he would appreciate your support. He also has a Patreon account. If you'll go to his YouTube channel, which is Kevin Kane, My Haunted Dolls, or the Tube, he has a Patreon account. And he does these EVPs and these spirit boxes. It took him years to figure out the difference between a EVP and a spirit box.
Oh, come on. It's all voice phenomenon.
His favorite word is phenomenon.
Phenomenon.
But anyway, support the starving. Well, as you can tell, we're not quite starving, but
No.
don't judge us by our size. Judge us by our great mentality.
Yes.
So anyway, and of course, my book to fame is Dating the Dead at datingthedead.com. Of course, you can go to abnormalalabama.com. We put out a lot of videos at Abnormal Alabama on YouTube. Join us over there. As I stated before, as of today, thank you, Kevin, our Facebook page has gone to private instead of public, and that was because of, to protect our privacy. How's that? If you invite somebody to join, we'd be glad to have them over there. But if you're going to criticize what we do, just don't come to the page. It's that simple. I don't go to other people's pages and criticize what they have on their page. So get over your Karen selves and, and just don't come. You're not a member. You're not going to see anything now. But anyway, so we're talking about switching and alters, which is multiple personalities, and how these people in the 21st century are using these alternate personalities and switching as a tool for self-preservation and so forth. We just played a video that this little British gal put out, and we watched her switch and put to the front Kyle, and I think Chloe came out a little bit. She's got a name for all these. Back when I was very young, there was a case, and he kind of covered Sybil, and then there was the Hulk, and then there's other movies that portrayed these people with different egos.
Yeah.
Do you have in your portfolio of these stories any fascinating, scary, or dangerous stories of people with different personalities that we could find entertaining here on this Terror Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, there was one I thought of just a few minutes ago. I said, why didn't I even, when we're talking about switching, I said, why didn't I think of this earlier? As I'm looking at these movies and stories we've talked about, there's a movie that came out just a couple of years ago. It's still fairly recent, called Peacock, about a man who has an alternate personality, which he sort of does a switching to begin with the personality. And I don't think I was trying to look see this based on a true story, because it seems like something you would have seen in, I mean, it seems very real. Definitely this could happen, as we've seen here. But the movie stars Cillian Murphy as, there's a picture from the movie, as a quiet bank clerk named John Skilpa, living alone in a tiny town of Peacock, Nebraska. And he prefers to live an invisible life in order to hide his secret. He has dissociative identity disorder, which was the implied result of childhood trauma inflicted by his abusive mother. And this was one bad mama. She forced him to dress a certain way. She even at one time forced him to have sex with a girl. And,
Poor guy.
And so
I wish my parents had forced me to have sex with somebody.
Yeah, well, in this case, it wasn't a positive thing, but she was extremely abusive, and so his other identity, which we see here in the picture with Susan Sarandon, is Emma, who in the beginning she would come out in the morning and at nighttime. Now, she did not leave the house other than to go out in the fenced-in backyard to do his laundry. She would cook his breakfast, take care of chores, and then before 8 a.m., go up to the bedroom and take off that wig and dress and switch back to John. So John would take over, the original personality, and he'd get dressed, go down, eat his breakfast, go to work. And it seems like, and of course, spoiler alert, if anybody hasn't seen the movie yet, close your ears or whatever, because I'm just have some spoilers here, I'm sure.
Just spit it out.
It seems that he created this identity, this female identity, to replace his mother, but he was trying to make something more gentle than the evil mother he had. He was alone, and he didn't think he could make it by himself, so he creates this forced identity, basically. But what happens, what railroads the situation, and I laugh when I say that, because literally a train on a track nearby derails and comes crashing through that fence while Emma is in the backyard taking down laundry. And she is knocked over. She's not killed or hurt. But neighbors come running in, and they see this. They knew about John. They see this strange woman in the backyard with laundry. And she gets up and runs in the house and slams the door and locks it. Well, in a little while, John comes to the door. So now people have seen his other identity. I don't know how they didn't realize that was just him with a wig and dress on, but they didn't. They thought it was a woman living with him. So he had to lie to try to keep his secret. He had to lie and say that's my new wife who I married secretly. Well, now he's struggling to continue his life. Everybody's starting to come around and pay attention to him. They're wanting him, like the Susan Sarandon is playing the mayor's wife. She wants him to come out and meet the other women of the town. And poor John is now screwed because he knows nobody can see them, together because they're the same person. And they'll know that he has a split personality. But where it gets into the scariness, sort of the thriller part of the movie, is that once Emma does get outside, when she's in control, she starts slipping out of the house in the morning and goes around meeting people. Again, they think she's a completely different person than John. They don't know that's him in drag for some reason. And so she starts getting to know people. And now she's had a taste of the outside. And now John starts losing control over her. And he's trying to fight her back. And she responds with violence. She's like, I'm a free woman now. I'm taking over. So it seems like they're conscious of each other. It's not all these situations where when John wakes up, he has no memory. And when she takes over, she has no memory of him. She's starting to figure out things he's been doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks if he can get away from the house, it can stop triggering Emma. But when he checks into a hotel room, she takes over. Her personality takes over. And she goes out she gets dressed up in her Emma garb, goes out to a bar, and tricks a man into coming back to her hotel with him. Of course, the hotel's under John's name. She nails the guy over the head with a metal bar, which if the blow didn't kill him, the fire did, because she set fire to the hotel room. So now people think that when they find the burned up body that they cannot identify, they think it's John. So she goes back home, and now she has taken over. And the town thinks John is dead. So it's kind of a scary situation.
Is that based on a true story?
I tried looking. I see no evidence that I was looking here at some information. I looked at Wikipedia. There's nothing out here that would suggest this is based on anything real.
I started to say, wow, that's really powerful.
And if you couldn't tell in the photo, there's kind of a period. I think that takes place in the 50s or something like that. It's not taking place in modern day because they've got older vehicles in the movie, and you don't see cell phones. They're on old landlines when they're talking to people. But yeah, that shows the dangerous aspect of creating. Doing the switching thing. He created a personality and then lost control of it. She wanted to dominate. And when he didn't cooperate, she practically killed him.
Well, she did
in a way.
In a way, yeah. So this is like not that far removed from Tulpas.
Yeah.
It isn't. Even though
what's interesting is that I can't believe I didn't
and
think
it's
about
really,
that.
like I said, it's something I just recently ran across. I didn't know it was such a big thing right now, but there's always been this multiple personality disorder. But these people, all these videos on YouTube and whatnot, is like they're looking at these multiple personalities in a very positive way, as a protection, and they know like the girl we watched from the UK. There's a certain song that triggers, so Kyle will come out.
Yeah.
Each one of these has a certain place in her life to protect her from things that she can't normally deal with, is what I'm understanding. Now, that's different than the story you just shared, because I guess the mother forced part of that on him, and then it got out of control.
Yeah, and when she died, he still needed that mother type figure. That's why he created Emma
Kinda
in
like-
his head.
Kind of like the Bates Motel.
Yeah, kind of like Norman. That is almost, except in that case, Norman murders his mother. That's a perfect,
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got Norman, and then you got the Mrs. Bates personality that comes out.
Yeah. So at the end of that movie, doesn't he end up dressing like his mother or something?
Yeah, he it starts out that apparently she was. That's another case where we have an abusive mother who's beating on her child. In this case, she doesn't want him to have anything to do with women. She forbids him to see any girls. No girls can come over or stay in the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets so bad that he just gets pissed off at her. And she brings a man home and flaunts it in front of him. He can't have any girlfriend, but boy, mama can have whatever she wants. So that's where Norman gets pissed and says, "I'll show you, you bitch." So he poisons her tea and kills her and her boyfriend. But then he starts missing her. And he stole her body from the casket and replaced the casket with books to weigh it down.
Yeah.
Hid her body in the basement, and he already knew how to do what do you call it? What's the word for people that stuff animals and things? Taxidermy.
Taxidermy.
He already knew taxidermy, so he taxidermied her corpse to try to preserve it. That still wasn't good enough, so he started talking in her voice, and pretty soon he created her in his mind. And whenever a woman would show up at the hotel, any woman came around that caused Norman to be turned on and ooh, beautiful. Mrs. Bates would come out. How dare this woman come around? And that's when the knife would come out. He'd dress up, throw the wig on, and pull out the knife and go knife happy.
But nobody knew about this. He was able to conceal it for a long time.
And then of course they had a few sequels to that movie, which I thought were pretty good.
That guy right there played a good Norman. I mean,
he did. He was Norman Bates right there.
Yeah,
you could see it. I mean, just look at the difference. Yeah. You could see there's the scared Norman.
Yeah,
he played it. I mean, he should have gotten an Academy Award, but academies don't always have good taste for the most part.
No, they don't always work out right.
That was a big thing for Hitchcock too. That really,
Well, you know, all this stuff. I'd never again. I mean, I remember the movie Sybil. I remember something about that case when I was a kid that was very well talked about. It was something that was in debate. Mm-hmm. I remember a lot of people at that time were like, "Oh, that's crazy. That people don't have more than one, personality and so forth." And it's amazing how all these decades later now, they've got a generation of people out there saying, I've got all these alters, and there's Bob, there's Frank, there's Sue, there's, and I feel, wait a minute, who's coming through? And wait a minute here, I can get Fred because that song triggers Fred. I mean, that is really a fascinating way to look at this. To say the least. Now we got a switching alter app, I guess. Is there a switching? Maybe we should create a switching alter app. So you want to switch, you want to create your alter ego and then be able to switch with a push of a button. Go to switchingalter.com and get our app so you can switch alter egos very easily.
I tell you what, I wish there was. When I was a kid, and there was a little while there, 5th and 6th grade, and I got bullied by multiple people, and I so wished I could be the Hulk and just change like that.
Yeah,
and just beat the hell out of them, scare them to death. They'd stay away from me. Of course, the show was my favorite thing on TV.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm a little bit older than you, but I was a scrawny little kid in school, and I was picked on because we were. A lot of people went to church, but they weren't that religious. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And we were very religious, okay? And so there was multiple reasons that I was picked on. I was taught, don't fight, walk away from conflict. And everybody else, you're in Alabama, you go to school with all these rednecks, right? So,
Yeah.
so I was the same way. And you'd watch like shows, The Karate Kid or something, and think, yeah, man, if I could do that, whack, 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 So I think in a sense, I think when we were kids, we kind of had alter egos. We didn't play them out to that degree, but in our minds, we kind of fantasized about, being Superman and stepping in the phone booth and changing, into our Superman outfit. And but these people have carried it on into adulthood. This and Tulpas kind of go very similar, and it's a very fascinating subject. So, you got any other interesting stories on this subject?
Yeah, we talked about Sybil earlier. There's another famous case and a movie made about it that featured Shelley Long in the part. There's the ad for the movie. Was the Trudy Chase story.
22 Voices?
Yes. And
is this based on a true story?
Yes, Trudy Chase is a real person.
Okay.
According to her personal account, Trudy Chase was born on a homestead near Hanoi Falls, New York, and grew up in an apartment in the same town. In her autobiography and in numerous interviews, Chase said that she was repeatedly and violently sexually and physically abused by her stepfather and beaten and neglected by her mother during her childhood and teenage years. By her report, she had always remembered that molestation and abuse occurred from the age of 2 onwards, but that she could not focus on details before going into
physically abused by her stepfather.
According to her,
and neglected.
There's an echo.
Her childhood and teenage years.
Do you hear that echo?
Hold on.
She always remembered that molestation.
I don't know what that was. I'll go ahead and keep telling the story here. At the age of 16, let's see, according to her autobiography, Trudy Chase was not her birth given name. At age 16, she ran away from her abusive household and changed her name to Trudy Chase to avoid being tracked down by her parents. In an interview with the Chicago Tribune, Trudy Chase described how her other personalities remained dormant until stressors in her midlife caused extreme anxiety, eventually unraveling all of her characters. In 1979, Trudy Chase had her first experience with her perceived other identities. She described interactions between her many personality characteristics, as well as interactions between her identities and physical body. It was during sessions with hypnotherapist Dr. Robert Phillips that she concluded that she had 92 identities. Yes, I said 92 identities. Chase chose not to integrate her identities and instead chose to think of them as a cooperating team. In her book, she describes giving talks to convicted child molesters to explain her abuse history and to warn them that child abuse, particularly incest, is psychologically devastating. In a television interview with Oprah Winfrey, Chase stated that a Washington Post reporter had tracked down her family, including her stepfather, who denied abusing Chase. However, other members of Chase's family confirmed her story, so that was real. Of course, in 1990, Chase's autobiography was made into a 2-part ABC miniseries retitled Voices Within: The Lives of Trudy Chase, which cast Shelley Long in the title role. Chase worked closely with the screenwriter to ensure the adaptation was genuine. Trudy died on March 10, 2010, at the age of 74. So this woman had 92 identities.
Wow.
How in the hell do you keep up with 92? God. That, I mean, to me, it's terrifying. 'Cause-
Well, I don't, like I said, I think, I remember when, like you, when you're younger, you have fantasies about certain things. But I don't know. I mean, these people seem very genuinely sincere about it. The video we shared part of there. If that girl was faking it, she was a pretty good actress, I think these people genuinely believe this stuff. Where I fall into it, I don't have any answers. I guess if it's therapeutic, if it helps them through a situation, it's fine, I mean, if they got something that they're having a hard time dealing with and they have to create a different personality to deal with it, I guess that's fine. I don't know. As long as they're not hurting anybody, right?
Yeah.
Just, Norman, just don't get poisoned. Yeah, just calm down, Norman. Calm down.
Now, there's another story, other book. I can hop a book here that I read a few years ago. It was so good. I've read that sucker 3 times.
Oh man, that's got to be a good book.
It's a freaking good book, in my opinion, because it was terrifying, and it's not a monster or a supernatural. I mean, this is a real human being doing this. It's a book called Home Sweet Home by an author named Ruby Jean Jensen, who she was from Louisiana, wrote a lot of young adult books, and most of them scary. In fact, she wrote some haunted doll books that I really like, some novels, kind of like what I've written about haunted dolls. That's the old paperback, but it's now available. There's the new cover in ebook on Kindle.
I cannot even begin to believe that you're actually promoting a book that's not yours.
It's a freaking good book. But yeah, Home Sweet Home. I'm going to throw up this creepy personality picture. Is about a man who goes by the name of Uncle Dan, who goes around in the towns and with a van, and he picks up these children that he finds. It has to be homeless, wayward children who nobody's going to care about or miss when they are gone. And he takes them. He tells them he's going to take them to a summer camp where they can or a campground where they can stay and have fun and have meals and have a place to live. Well, he gets them there, and they come to find out. Of course, he fills their head with these things, stories about. It's a cabin type house in the woods that. It's up in the mountains. There's a lot of woods and wilderness around, 3 or 4 miles from the nearest store or gas station. And to keep them on his property, he tells them scare stories of witches and monsters in the woods that'll get you if you stray off the property without my permission. Then he tells them about his so-called wife, Little Mother, who he keeps in the house.
He calls her what?
Little Mother.
Little Mother.
And she stays in a room that's always kept locked so the children won't disturb the Little Mother. But they start seeing strangeness in this fellow because he'll come out in the morning, and instead of being that big old Uncle Dan, he turns into this prissy little figure that goes in the kitchen and puts on an apron and starts fixing breakfast for everybody. And he's talking to them in this female voice. And so they're taken aback, and all of a sudden, eventually, he'll take off the apron and, rustle his hair. And now he's Uncle Dan again, and he's starting to talk to them. Now, you listen to what Little Mother told you, and they start realizing one of the older kids is catching on to something's wrong here. Starts realizing this guy. Did I just freeze up? I feel like I froze up for a second there.
It did? Are you okay?
Okay, I think I'm back now. Yeah, I'm okay. But anyway, this guy apparently thinks he's little mother. He puts on the apron. That's the trigger. And he's little mother. Take that apron off and he's Uncle Dan. So what is he keeping locked in the room in there? Who or what is this little mother? And the problems are when kids are bad, he takes them in the room to little mother and they don't come back out. And they're not seen again. Well, long story short, because it's a whole novel. And spoiler alert, you know, if you haven't read the book yet, I recommend reading it. But Uncle Dan is a former mental patient. When he was little, again, we have another story like Norman Bates. You got this man that was abused by his mother. She abused him and his siblings violently. She was a controlling type mother. Everything had to be her way, and the family had to be perfect, the perfect family. So when they were bad, they were severely punished, and eventually Dan snapped, and he killed his mother, set the house on fire, burned everybody, and he was put in a mental institution. Well, they thought he was cured, and he even met and fell in love with a nurse there, and they married when he got out of the hospital. They went up and bought that cabin. Well, the wife...
You froze again. I think, I don't know. Yeah.
Did I freeze?
Yeah, there's storms going on outside. I don't know
Okay.
if that's affecting it or not. Is it storming in your neighborhood? It's storming over here.
Just quiet here.
Okay.
So where did I freeze up? How far did I get before I froze?
I know what that was. You were switching altars.
Ah, come on. My name is Stephen. I'm from Great Britain. I've got a hairy chest. Look at them. What just happened? Okay. So,
Okay, you're making fun of them.
Yeah, I don't mean to make fun or offend. So anyway, I don't know how far I got or what you heard before I froze up, but I was talking about the Home Sweet Home book, and Uncle Dan had married the nurse from the psychiatric hospital he had been in, and they bought this cabin in the woods, and then eventually she's not being seen for a long time. So the older kid, when he figures out there's something wrong with Uncle Dan, he sneaks into that room, that locked room, and finds the little mother, which is actually the corpse of Uncle Dan's wife. He had apparently killed her and kept her corpse in there. And when the kids are bad and he's taking them in a room, they're not being seen again because he's killing them too and burying them. So you've got this split personality dude who's violent. He's killing children. He's trying to find the perfect children to make his family complete with him and little mother. And so it's a very dark. I mean, when you got a story where children are getting butchered, I mean and we're talking 7, 8, 9-year-old kids here. That's a pretty disturbing story. There's little mother there in her rocking chair. So if you haven't read that book, that's a pretty good book, and it kind of goes into a channeling thing. They created this little mother figure. Apparently, he wasn't cured like they thought he was, and he was still thinking of his own mother. And when he married this wife, this nurse, she wasn't filling that missing, the void that the missing mother was creating, you know. So he killed her and made up his own little mother entity, which became a personality for him. Every time he put that apron on, he was little mother cooking breakfast in the kitchen. And it made me think of Norman Bates, but way more extreme.
Yeah.
Way more brutal.
So in your lifetime, can you think of anybody that you ran across that you could say, I think they had alternate egos. They had different personalities.
Yeah.
If you think back over it.
One comes to mind. I wouldn't say they were straight up personalities because it was more like mood swings, but I could swear she had multiple personalities. My own mother, after she had a lot of medical problems. She had fibromyalgia, and she had a lot of gallbladder infections, which the gallbladder infection is what led to her death eventually. But because of all the different health, and she had Parkinson's, I mean, all this health crap going on, she was on a ton of medication. Am I freezing again?
No. You're doing okay now.
Did I freeze? Because I can
No,
barely
you're
hear
good.
you.
You're good. Can you hear me? I see both of us. I hear you.
I can hear. Well, you.
You're
Okay, you froze, and then your
No,
your voice is breaking. There you go. Now you're back.
it was it was in your head.
No, it was not in my head.
You were doing one of those rapid succession switchings.
Go back and watch the video. My name is Saul. What just happened? Okay.
So you're talking about this girl. Do you think that
I was talking about my
people
mother.
like that, is it possible that they,
Well,
you think they have mood swings, but could these mood swings be a change in personality to help them cope with
I was
the?
talking about my mother is who I was talking. My mother
Okay.
was on a ton of medications because of all the health problems she had.
Right.
And after all those, I mean, the medications were so bad that there were a lot of days she couldn't get out of bed. She couldn't,
Okay.
she would be awake for maybe an hour.
Mm.
So my dad had to put his foot down with the doctor and like, y'all got to do something. And she finally got with the right doctors. They cut back her medication. But after that, it was like she would have different personality. I mean, like, she might be laughing and talking. All of a sudden, she'd get all mellow and start just weeping and start, just, woe is me. And then all of a sudden, she would be this. Live your life, Am I breaking up again?
Yeah.
Okay, but she would get into this type of personality where she would, tell you what, then she'd all of a sudden just get mad and blow up. And sometimes she'd have all these personalities in in the same conversation, and it was scary. But she was never not her, it wasn't like she was a different person with a different name. So it wasn't really personalities or alter egos so much. It was just mood swings, but it made you think she had, like she was a different person.
Was your mother's name Sybil?
No.
Sorry.
Her name was Martha. But that was the heavy medications they had her on. That can really mess you over. So be careful, people, when you don't let your doctors put you on so much it's frying your brain.
If you can avoid big pharma, that's a good thing. It's 8:30. We've been going for an hour and a half. This is
Wow.
And there is Kevin Kane with My Haunted Dolls at myhauntedolls.com. The author of 13 books. Yeah, are you writing a 14th yet?
Yeah, I've actually got 18 pages written. This book is going to be a collection of short, scary stories, just fictional stories that I'm making up based on things I've heard or experienced.
Okay.
So, and I've already got the title, Dark Awakening and Other Stories for the Midnight Hour.
Ah.
So
when he finishes that book and you get it, you've got to wait till midnight to read it. So.
Dark Awakening and Other Stories for the Midnight Hour.
So we're talking, last week we talked about tulpas and tulpamancers, and that was creating these entities that were separate from you, but they were your creation. Now we're talking about these alternate egos. They call it switching, alters, and this is something we all know something about, but it's become kind of a thing that people are using now. That I didn't realize it was such a big thing going on right now. There is a Dr. Mr. Hyde we all are familiar with, and he had a tremendous alter ego there that would come out. Of course, Kevin's favorite, the Hulk.
Yes, the Hulk.
It almost makes me think of Mighty Mouse. You know, here he comes to save the day.
The Hulk.
So if you think about it, there's a lot of movies, there's a lot of fiction, there's a lot of things that you've heard of through your life. Of the Nutty Professor and the Hulk and different ones. The superheroes, Batman would slide down his pole and become Batman, and Superman would Clark Kent would become this superhero and all this kind of stuff. So we're kind of trained with these alter egos.
Don't forget Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man. And so there would be very tremendous different alter egos by these fictional characters. And then, of course, throughout history, as some of the cases we've covered tonight, there were these real cases of people claiming to have personalities. We've learned that if one of your personalities, one of your alters, comes to the front, you may or may not know or realize what they have done. If you're shifting alters, switching, you could get confused because the situation is really just kind of strangely interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
So that's been our subject tonight at 8:34 p.m. We got 25 minutes left, and I'm just sitting here wondering if Kevin's got some more alter ego stories there.
Yeah,
There's
there's your
picture I found.
Here picture. I like that. The old classic Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde book illustration.
Mr. Hyde, yes. And Kevin started out earlier tonight talking about different entertainers, that they have a whole different personality comes up on stage. They clearly got an alternate ego when they get on stage. They become this, Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
And who's the one you spoke about earlier?
One of the more famous, I mentioned Beyonce created her own ego and for the stage. And then, but the most famous was David Bowie.
And Alice Cooper was
and,
not. So what I've always told people, I've been around some entertainers in my life, and I tell people, it's like, what you think you know about these people, you really don't know, because they have this stage personality that's totally different than who they are.
Yeah. Trying to find a little more. Yeah, Ziggy Stardust. That was the name of David Bowie's alter ego. Because when he got on stage, he wanted to become something more than just that little, little English boy from that little English town that's so polite and quiet. So he developed Ziggy.
He developed a very strong personality.
Yeah, Ziggy Stardust, which even gave a backstory to. It was an alien from another world come here to show us how to. He can really entertain us, and he would get up there and just go all out. He had a red mullet, makeup on, and just went all out. Then when he left the stage, he went back to David Bowie. And so that was strictly for entertainment purposes. And
go ahead.
Beyonce created hers because in real life she was a little more shy and withdrawn, so she needed a way to, you can't get on stage to sing pop and whatever and be shy and withdrawn. You got to be letting yourself out there. So she created a whole other ego to turn into when she got out there. And I did that one time. I actually did kind of create my own identity one time. That was very short-lived.
But yeah,
it was his name was Baron Story. When I used to go to North Shelby Baptist Church, we have, of course, at church they want to try to be a little more innocent with Halloween, so they have these fall festivals in October, and this was Trunk or Treat, where everybody parks their cars and opens their trunks, got candy in there to give out to the kids, but each one
trying to take the fun out of Halloween.
And each one each car or vehicle had some kind of game or something set up that was they could play and then get candy after. Mine was Baron's Story. I had on my top hat and cape, and even had a cat. I was dressed up like one of those, Roaring Twenties gentlemen, and even tried to talk in a different voice like this. And I would share stories with them. And then as long as they sat and listened quietly to the story, if it was older kids, I'd tell the scary one. I didn't care if we were in the church parking lot. But if it was the really little ones, I'd tell a funny, kind of a cute, spooky story. So, and then I would give them candy after. So, in fact, I've got a picture out there. If you want me, it may take me a minute or two, but I got a picture of myself as Baron's Story. But that lasted all of a year, and then I just
interesting. Because there's another analogy of alter egos, because really that's what Halloween is about for most people. Is you're able to develop this different persona than your everyday life, and it's kind of like, ooh, I get to be somebody else, And so it's like, okay, I can be Superman, or I can be Batman, or I can be Spider-Man, or whatever. Yeah. So really, that's you're right. That's basically what Halloween turns out to be, isn't it? We get to that one day out of the year, we get to become somebody different.
Yes, and I did become gosh, I'm man.
Where's the picture?
The bad thing about Facebook is, years and years of posting photos, it takes forever to go back and find one from, oh, wait a minute, I got this. Here it is.
Oh, no.
All right, I'm going to save this and upload it right now. Here we go. Get it on StreamYard here. Thought I was going to have to go back a bunch of years, but I found it. Y'all lucked out.
Woohoo!
I'm about to get it up here. So you can see, hey, wrong picture. You can see Baron's Story. Let me get it up here. Onto the things here. All right. Here we go. There's Baron's Story. Got my top hat.
You know who you look like in that picture?
Who do I look like?
The Penguin from Batman. Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of, because that profile right there, your nose is almost pointed the way it's in that picture.
Had my little bow tie on.
Yeah.
So I got gloves on, a cane.
Yeah, just like a penguin.
I just went all out for that character.
You did a good job. The Baron Story.
Baron's Story. So I did do some switching there a little bit.
Yeah. So we're kind of trained through our entertainment, through Halloween and different things. We are trained to develop these different alter egos in a way.
Did you know there's even people who get paid for it? They're called actors.
Well, not just actors, also actresses.
Actresses. Oh, I thought they were all identified as actors.
Well, they do it for free.
I've always known it as actresses, but now I'm hearing more and more actresses say I am an actor. I don't know. Who knows what's politically correct anymore? But yeah, actresses and actors.
So how about this? Male and female actors.
Actors and actresses.
I'm not through. Transgender actors.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, but the Academy still calls it actors and actresses. So
there you go. There you go.
If they hadn't changed that, then we can still say actresses.
Oh my goodness.
Gosh.
Well, alter egos, switching, I never did. I ran across this I'm always keeping my eyes open for things we can talk about that's abnormal for this little podcast thing. Kevin and I have been doing this now a little over 2 years. I don't remember the exact anniversary date. And out of these 2 years that we've been doing this, we've only missed a couple of shows.
Yeah.
It's been continuous, it's been ongoing, and I'm proud of that.
There's 2 of them we missed that was just because it was end of December. There was Christmas Eve Tuesday and New Year's Eve Tuesday. That's the only really.
Yep. So there's been some times that Kevin had to miss and I had to miss, but we always carried on with just one of us or whatever. So it's no big deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so when you think about it, we're used to having these alter egos. We're used to switching, and we switch with intent, maybe in a playful manner, and some people do it in a more serious manner. Like Kevin just said, actors and actresses, and male and female, and transgender, and multigender, and alien, and black, white, yellow, purple, pink. Actors.
God, I think that back covers it there.
They
You got 'em all in there.
absolutely, they get paid. I mean, take it, Tom Hanks, and all the different
Yeah.
personalities he's portrayed. And I know a lot of actors, they actually get so intense on this character they're playing that they kind of live as that character while they're filming this. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I think they call it. Is that the ones that are method actors, or I can't remember? But yeah, they'll do that.
Yeah.
They'll live. Jim Carrey did that when he played Andy Kaufman on Man in the
lived
Moon.
in
He totally became Andy, and he would not come out of it. Even when they
Right.
cut and ended the day of filming, he was still Andy.
Yeah.
And to the point where some people that just drove him crazy because they just,
Very fascinating stuff.
they
People that
became-
we're talking about, though, are not actors. They are
yeah.
normal people that have developed these personalities. And I don't know about Sybil. The background of that is whether that was with intent or not. But a lot of these people now are creating these alter egos with intent to shelter themselves from certain things. It's not something that just is automatic. It's kind of like the way that the last show we did, you develop tulpas. So they're doing this. It's like, okay, it's like you said, okay, I'm not natural on stage. I'm kind of shy. So when I get on stage, I've got this other persona that comes out to the front and takes over, and that personality is better equipped than I am to handle this situation. Interesting.
Yeah. There's there were some other stories out here I hadn't
While you're looking at that, I want to change the subject for just a
shared.
minute. You got,
Huh?
You got another story you're going to share?
Yeah, I got one here. This is a well-known person that
Okay, go ahead.
people may or may not have known. You heard of Herschel Walker?
The
the
name sounds
professional-
familiar.
He was a professional American football player and bobsledder, sprinter, mixed martial arts, just all around athlete.
Is that what you call a triathlete?
Yeah, and he also owns a food service. At a glance, Herschel is a successful person, but deep inside, he was battling an illness for a long time. He was diagnosed with DID after he retired in 1997. DID is the multiple personality disorder.
Right.
As a child, Herschel was always bullied because of his weight and his stuttering. His mother, a devout Christian, did not want him to be hindered by this. Thus, Herschel pushed himself hard until he surpassed everyone academically and athletically. Herschel created another person inside him, a person that wouldn't give up, a person that is almost superhuman, and he's quoted as saying, when you start wearing a hat, that you wear this red hat for football, you wear the white hat for home, you wear the blue hat for work, but all of a sudden when you leave home, you put on the red hat, you put it on at home, the hat's all screwed up. So now that aggressive nature that you had in football is now at home because you put on the wrong hat. In 2008, Herschel Walker published a book called Breaking Free, My Life with Dissociative Identity.
Well, he got bounced off for some reason. He was talking about Herschel Walker and the book he wrote, and he suffered from this, if you won't suffered with. Talk about when he put on a certain hat for the different roles he played in life. He was football, he was different sports and different things. And I guess he was explaining the different hat, if you will. interesting to speak of. So here he comes again to
I
join.
my internet cut out. Right
Did your lights burp or anything?
No, it's just the internet. The broadband line is finally back on. I looked up, saw the broadband line was flashing when the error box came up.
So your internet Wi-Fi there simply did a switching of alters. So we now know, thanks to Kevin and his internet connection at home, that even inanimate objects can have different personalities.
And I'm about to beat that personality out of that object. But I don't even know if you heard the last part of what I was saying about Herschel Walker. He created his alter ego to help him be that, and then he just had a different one for every.
Yeah, you're talking about the red hat and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, he referred to it as putting on different.
Mm-hmm. And there he froze again. He's got internet problems over there tonight.
Froze up again.
Yeah. So the very, very interesting subject matter that we're covering tonight. I don't know exactly where we're going to go, but I'm going to change in the last few minutes here since Kevin keeps freezing up. Interesting topic, and we know it. Do you remember a short time ago that all these clowns, people dressed as clowns, are popping up everywhere, scaring people?
Yeah.
Do you know what's popping up now that's just becoming a thing?
What's popping up now?
The plague doctor.
The plague doctor.
I mean, I'm serious. Over in England, in a trend eerily similar to the creepy clown craze, which swept across the globe a few years ago, reports of people dressed as plague doctors have cropped up in multiple communities throughout England over the last few years. Now, as I'm sharing this story, I'm in no way encouraging anybody in Alabama or in the United States to dress up as a plague doctor and pop up, even though you can get the outfit on Amazon.com. Oh, I'm sorry. The strange spate of sightings seemingly began in Scotland earlier this month, where a young man wearing the creepy costume caused something of a stir as several towns until police caught up with him and advised him to please stop scaring people. While that particular reign of terror may have come to an end, it appears to have unleashed a wave of plague doctors across the United Kingdom. Much like at the height of the clown craze, keeping track of all the appearances by such unsettling individuals is rather difficult, especially since accounts of a plague doctor appearing in a community is more often than not an online rumor spread on localized social media with varying degrees of evidence for support of such an individual actually being seen. That said, authorities are taking the matter seriously. For example, in the town of Cheshunt, police informed residents that they were aware of the stories going around and have stepped up their patrols, but have no reports of anyone encountering a plague doctor. Meanwhile, in a testament of how widespread the craze has become, authorities in the town of Scunthorpe, which is approximately 163 miles away from Cheshunt, also issued a statement telling residents that there is no truth to the rumors of a plague doctor lingering around an area school and chasing children. Over 200 miles away from Scunthorpe, police in the town of Wirral acknowledged tales of an unknown person wearing all black clothing, a cape, and a black mask with a large beak similar to a crow also being seen near a school, and declared the matter to be a hoax, as they have had no confirmed sightings of any person purporting to be this character. That's not to say that all of the purported plague doctor sightings are merely rumors, as a person in the town of Kidderminster actually managed to capture a video of an individual wearing the unnerving costume. And back in Scotland, another of the characters has been seen at least 3 times in the town of Dumfries. Authorities who have addressed the trend attribute it to, unsurprisingly, a fad from TikTok, and oddly enough, say that it originated in the United States, which is somewhat harder to believe since America has yet to experience a wave of plague doctor sightings in a manner similar to what we're seeing in England. That said, should the craze continue, it wouldn't be shocking if such a scenario occurred. So I'm encouraging everybody, please do not go to Amazon.com to get a plague doctor face mask. Please refrain from doing that. See, that would scare people. Now, if you went to a 5 Points South where there's a lot of young people, a lot of restaurants and bars, and you walked around 5 Points South, especially after people became inebriated, and you showed up in an outfit outside the bar at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and you just kind of casually walk through the parking lot,
Yeah.
don't do that.
Especially when it's foggy. If it's foggy around you, and you go walking up in the dark.
Not only that, don't be crashing weddings wearing an outfit like that. Now, I'm not trying to give people ideas. I'm trying to warn people. Don't go to Amazon.com. They're not. The outfits are not that expensive. You can get one of those masks pretty expensively. So I'm telling you, please refrain from doing that. You know, and it, you know, that would scare people. That would intimidate people. You know, to show up. You know, like walking through the parking lot or parking garage of a hospital, or you know, around any medical facility. Please don't do these things. You know, even though the mask is very inexpensive on Amazon.com.
It just keeps.
I'm really urging you. This is a public service announcement. That, and Kevin's got the picture up here, so you know exactly what to look
Yeah.
for.
I'm just kind of leaving it up there, but not implying that you should, you know, just
You
just
should
you can
not.
see what it looks like.
We certainly don't want to mimic what's going on in other places in the world, especially in Alabama of all places. And it would be awful if somebody showed up at Burger King in Chelsea and out like that.
And please, if you live in one of these, you know, close suburban neighborhoods where the houses are right next to each other, and you know that some people have those cameras and, you know, doorbell cameras, don't dress up like this and go up to the camera and stand there and stare and stare and stare.
Yeah, and you know, it would be a horrible thing to, you know, these people now have the ring, you know, that's got the camera and the doorbell on it. And it would be awful to walk up and use that beep to ring the doorbell, you know.
Yeah, with this thing on. Come on, man. Come
So
on, man.
Please do not even think about doing these kind of things. And yeah, I would really encourage you, don't go to Amazon.com. I know they're not very expensive, and I'm sure you could afford it, but that'd be a horrible thing, especially in rural Alabama like Chelsea and Silicotta. You could start something. I mean, you know, could you imagine, Kevin, a lot of people doing this on TikTok and it becoming a big thing all of a sudden? Don't do this. Really, that you really don't.
I mean, and spreading it to Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, you don't. I'm gonna just. I want to see. To satisfy my own curiosity. See, other people have been looking at it because it was very easy, and they're not. I mean, you can get a plague doctor mask for $20. You know, there's different prices, and gosh, $21 and whatnot. So there's even a video of somebody walking around wearing one with a black hood on them. Be nice. Don't be scaring people like that. That would be so inappropriate to do. That look at Kevin over there. He's on Amazon ordering one right now. He's going to show up at the Walmart gas station pumping gas as the plague Doctor.
I'm not going to do that. I mean, that would be atrocious to put that on a walk into Burger King
Yeah,
for an Impossible Whopper.
So, by the way, in the last couple of minutes here, you heard any more children singing or dancing around outside your?
No, I haven't heard anything in the past week since that happened.
So, you young people, don't take $20 and get on Amazon.com. Don't try to scare your mama, by spooking her, or don't show up at school as a plague doctor. I just want to make that clear. That's something I'm not encouraging anybody to do. Even though
No.
that's interesting mask there on Amazon. I mean,
That's
they're
not a subliminal flash. It's just.
but it amazes me. I mean, they got one here for like $13. So
I thought they'd be more than that, especially if they're made out of leather like that. I don't know.
Yeah, and then the face mask, they got it. Oh, that's okay. Yeah. Okay, guys, just don't go to Amazon.com and don't search for Plague Doctor.
Yeah.
Stuff, and be nice.
Even though there's a buy it now awesome deal on eBay for this thing, don't go out there.
Yeah. This is just a public service announcement. We're trying to warn people that we're not trying to start anything. I could imagine how viral this would go on TikTok if people started doing this around, especially around Alabama, Alabaster, Chelsea, Calera, Columbiana. I could imagine on some of these country roads, somebody just kind of strolling down the side of the road in a Plague Doctor outfit. That would create quite a stir, and I could just, of course, I've got a vivid imagination. TikTok, you could really do some fascinating things with a Plague Doctor. But again, public service announcement, don't do any of the things that we just talked about. This was just a warning to tell you that this would not be healthy for your community. And it might be fun. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I like scaring people, but yeah, Amazon.com. It's 9:00.
Oh, it's 9 o'clock already? Yeah.
We never have a problem covering. So, with that on thought, be careful. We got some storms rolling through again here in central Alabama. So,
Stupid storms.
get her done.
See, even Mother Nature has an alter ego.
I think Mother Nature is the Plague Doctor.
Stay away from him now. Don't dress up like him.
Can you imagine? I mean, those Plague Doctors actually used a mask like that, didn't they?
I know. I don't know where they got the idea from.
I think it's pretty cool, but
Yeah.
Even though I think it's cool, and I guess I'm probably going to order one of those just so I can demonstrate how not to do this kind of stuff. I want to make sure my neighbors know that this, if you see something like this, don't get bent out of shape.
Don't shoot.
Yeah, really. Oh, man. Okay, folks. Well, you've learned about tulpas. You've learned about switching altars. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but we're going to find something interesting, I'm sure.
Yeah, I guess what? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we talk about the creepy imaginary friend type stories. That kind of creating imaginary friends. That kind of fun. I don't know if that would.
Well, I can talk about that all night because the only friends I've got are imaginary. All right, folks, we shall return in 1 week.
Yeah.
And this is archived on YouTube and Facebook. Remember, we did switch our Facebook page. Alabama is now set to private. So if anybody wants to join us, you got to join us. You can't just meander through and be snooping on our private stuff. Or we may send, if we catch you, we're going to send the Plague Doctor after you.
He might switch you next.
I have a big switch.
Yeah, a different kind of switch there.
All right, brother, I got things I got to do before I call it a noche.
Okay.
So I think every Friday or Saturday night, watch Kevin because he does a live stream of his dolls. He puts a camera in there and wants people to watch and see if they catch any paranormal
Yeah.
activity. So watch that. You share that on the Facebook page, I hope, to let people know you're doing that.
Yeah. Share it on the Facebook and the other groups to go out there and watch it.
Well, remember, always the darkest right before it goes pitch black.
Okay. Good night.